How's the lighting, yo? I hope it's okay. Hope you guys can see me all right. Thank you for clicking on the video and checking it out. This is part one to a series where I'm gonna expose gang stalking from my experience. And I wanna start from the root. I wanna start from the foundation. I know a lot of you look at this from many different perspectives. It's a very serious topic. It's not something that's funny. It's not something that's entertainment. It's not something that you wish to talk about. And there's really, if you're someone who is watching this right now and you're not going through it, I'd suggest just not, just try to be careful talking about stuff, man. Try to be careful about, try to plan things out. I want to go ahead and just start out with how this all began. There's numerous amount of reasons why I'm doing this, guys. I really do wish for a more fruitful and more goal-oriented future for all of us, We're gonna talk about accountability and mistakes, because it's one thing to point out the actions of others towards us, which is true. And there's a lot of things that happened to you and a lot of things that people did to you, tried to do to you, that's not right. And you didn't deserve to go through that. And all of us have our own different story. We all have our own different experiences with this. But one thing is that if you're someone who's going through this and you're watching this, you will be able to relate to it. This is part one. This is a platform that we choose to share our experiences and where we find each other and grow together. And that's one thing we want to do too, is grow together. And so I'm gonna go ahead and start this out, and part one is gonna be called YouTube and Drugs. So this is the pre-gang stalking. I like to call it the covert watching. And the thing is everyone's being watched, but it's very dependent on what you're doing and your actions and what your intentions are. So I first opened up this YouTube channel in 2019. You'll notice if you go to my first video, it's actually here in 2023. And that's because I deleted all my videos on this topic because of the opposition I was facing with trying to achieve my my medical goal. And I'm more than certain that if I didn't delete those videos, my goal would not have been accomplished. So I want to go ahead and break down the root to you guys. I just think it's important, and we're gonna have other parts with a different category in this series. So in 2019, I began this video, and it was with the intentions of trying to help other people who had medical situations going on with them, and just dealing with traumatic experiences and future traumatic situations that we're gonna face, and depression. So it was over jaw surgery and stuff like that. And as I continued to grow the channel, there were other topics I'd get myself into. So take note, this is a couple months, this is the summer of 2019, so this is just a couple months before we started hearing news about the pandemic. And I did actually make a video. For those of you who are longtime subscribers, you may remember this video, may not. And it was titled Drugs. And Mid of 2019 is when I was just turning into the age of 23. So let me go ahead and state to you guys that if you're someone who's going through targeting and gang stalking and all these tactics, and you're being watched in a variety of different ways, and this is no conspiracy, I've said it many times before, agencies participate in this, and many other sections and amenities within the cities with different plans, and you know, the rabbit hole goes pretty far deep into it. But nonetheless, I had a video titled Drugs, and you know, if you're someone going through this, you got to give yourself a pat on the back, man. You have fully developed spiritually. You spiritually have developed, you have surpassed the mass majority of the world. It's really important that I mention that only 1%, if even, of the population in the world will experience gang stalking. So this video titled Drugs, this is right before I began going through this, right? So I wasn't fully developed yet. I would speak on the many different drugs that I had partaken in. You know, and I spoke about alcohol. I even spoke about energy drinks and marijuana and you know, everything else too. And you notice how the platform YouTube continued to develop rapidly during the beginning of the pandemic, right? So one thing I noticed is comments, and just the way you know, just how you can notice certain comments that will wish to push you a certain way and hope that you talk about certain things and stuff like that, you know? And this is what I mean by taking accountability, and how it was actually a foolish mistake for me to upload such a video and put myself in a position like that, because I didn't have many subscribers, you know, and you know, I was working a job as a manager, so you know, I was really putting myself out there without understanding what the future references would hold, if you know what I'm saying, without understanding what the outcome would be to this. And like I said before, we're gonna have different categories, and I'm gonna break it down section by section. But I just thought it was important to kind of just point that out here in the first topic, you know, because when you're someone who chooses to put yourself out there, and especially when you're speaking on things like drugs, you know, and you have the certain awareness you have to speak on it, so you know, you're showing your audience that you're able to hold your own. You're showing your audience that although you're speaking on things like drugs and gambling and addictions and depression and stuff like that, you guys can tell that, you know, I'm still an individual who can hold his own and still be shown as a, you know, a respectable person you can trust with this type of information and just the way you go about it. So doing such a thing can sometimes put you into a vulnerable situation. I remember during this time, there's many different reasons I choose to even speak on topics like this, just because of my living situation. You know, I had some roommates who were in and out. I remember I had a couple roommates who were complete addicts, you know, and it was just a real, you know, I'm in that environment, so just who I am, it's not exactly a toxic environment, because me being in that environment, if I happen to be around like toxic situations, it's not as toxic as it really would be, if you know what I'm saying. You guys know what I'm saying when I mean that. If you're this type of person, when you're in a toxic environment, you understand what you're capable of doing and how sometimes you can indirectly control the environment, if you know what I'm kind of saying. So it's not nothing as bad as it would pan out is gonna pan out that way, if you guys kind of know where I'm going with this, right? So I think it's important. This, you know, this is part one. Like I said, you know, we're gonna be getting real deep into it, and so I just need to really break down the parts that don't seem that important, but once you add it all up together, it makes a lot of sense. And this platform, YouTube, plays a big role. You know, we speak on how these, and like I said before, you know, this is just me saying this. With my outcome, you know, this is why I like to give my credit to a bunch of other channels. There will be links in the description below, probably on the next one. I wanted to say that in the intro. And there are individuals going through this who went all out and actually called these specific agencies that differ from each other, but you know, they each have their own you know, their own place, their own agenda, their own what do you call it, motive, you know. And they actually reached out to these agencies to see, well, okay, well, why am I on this list, and why, you know, why am I going through this and stuff. You know, I actually have not gone that far. I know there was one time I did receive an interesting email. It could have been a spam email. There's a lot of things that go on during this, you know. I remember my email just being, it was almost like it got I don't know if doxing is like the right word. That's more so for like a physical address, but with your email, and you're receiving like all these spam emails during like specific corresponding times and stuff like that, if you guys can understand where I'm coming from. So what I'm trying to say is that we can talk about agencies all day long, but technically, depending on what you're going through and what you're talking about and what your intentions are, especially with these platforms, you know, there was a time where I thought this channel was almost like frozen, or if like I was being trolled or something, because every video I'd put up, I'd have a perpetrator comment, just completely just leaving a bunch of nasty comments and just you know, just participating with it. And so this platform plays a big role with it, guys, you know, and just what you choose to say. So, you know, this is kind of just taking accountability real quick. And you know, if you're someone who's going through this, you know, you've made mistakes despite, you know, all the wrongs that people and intentions that people had towards you. You know, we do have our mistakes, you know. So this is part one, called YouTube and Drugs. And coming from this perspective, I just kind of wanted to state how sometimes the way you go about things and what you choose to talk about can sometimes backfire on you, and this can cause a chain reaction into other stuff. And if you don't know how to choose your tracks correctly, if you don't know how to move a correct way, you know, you could be digging your own hole for yourself, and it could get detrimental. So this is just part one, pretty surface level, and as we continue with the parts, it's gonna get much and much more interesting and intriguing. And you know, this whole stuff that's happening right now, we are gonna come together to get a close on it, and to just correctly find the right way to make this a better situation for all of us, okay? So I kind of hope I got out everything I wanted to say. Doing something like this, speaking on very serious topics, especially if you're not someone going through it yet, it's a thing called undercover surveillance, where you are being watched. Everyone is, but they're not letting you know yet. So this is what part one's all about. This situation is a situation where you're being undercover surveilled, and you don't know it yet until they let you know, and that's when you know you're officially on the program. So I appreciate you guys for checking this out, and stay tuned for part two.